This episode was a massacre. Hi guys, it's your boy Shinobi Sage here with a review for Vinland Saga Season 2 Episode 19. Let's get it. Ketil is the most foolish and arrogant character in this season. His actions during this episode were a pure example of the blind leading the blind. I liked how the major theme of this episode reflected Einar and Thorfinn's conversation about wars, slavery, and their Norse culture. The fact that Ketil was able to recruit men to fight who have no damn clue what they're getting into, going up against Canute's forces, really goes to show how deep-rooted this violence is in their culture. When I look at Ketil's family during this entire season, Ketil and Thorgil represent different aspects of a Viking's value. Ketil represents the wealth aspect, having a large farm and many slaves. He's taken a lot of L's recently, and that has wounded his pride, made him angrier and more frustrated with Canute. I personally think that deep down he knew that they were never going to win, but he ignored his sense of judgment and reason. Thorgil represents the valor aspect of Viking culture. I mean, come on, he literally has 4 in his name. This man is a complete sociopath who only cares about battle, and the interesting thing is, he's the one who orchestrated everything. It was he who gathered all of the men on the farm, knowing damn well they weren't going to stand a chance against the Yom Vikings, the baddest men in all of Denmark. It was he who told Ketil that Canute only has 100 men, and he willfully neglected to describe the type of soldiers they'll be fighting, because if he did that, Ketil and all of the men probably would have backed down and surrendered to Canute. Thorgil was using every single one of them from the start. If that's not devious, I don't know what is. And Olmar represents that childlike innocence, you could say, because at the start of the season, he wanted to be a warrior, and we all knew he wasn't built like that. And we've seen from his character the struggle of conforming to your culture. And it's a very interesting dichotomy because he didn't want to inherit Ketil's farm at the start and he wanted to be just like Thorgil. But now that he's seen the reality of war, he doesn't want to be involved in the fighting. I like how tangibly his character has been written because we can all relate to that struggle in some shape or form. We finally got clarification that Ketil is not the Iron Fist that he claims to be. Turns out that Snake actually knew the real Iron Fist and was trained by him, and when he found himself on Ketil's farm, he knew he was a fake because the real Iron Fist and him share the same name. And this episode really went into great lengths to show how Ketil really leveraged that so-called title of his against the men willing to fight for him. To be fair, Ketil did give Snake a permanent residence on his farm when he was on the run, and he did give Pata his freedom, so those two are forever indebted to him. For example, Snake has been a very good character this season. We don't know much about him as an audience. We get little bits of information here and there, but we don't need to know anything. Yukimura does a fantastic job by writing his character as another person bound by this cycle of war and slavery. He knew this whole situation was hopeless, and he tried to warn Ketil, but in the end, he's just a man trying to fulfill his duty. In this episode, we do see Thorfinn and the others who are watching over Arneas, and the conversation between Leif and Thorfinn was a very wholesome one. Leif has been a great father figure ever since Thor's death. He's practically seen Thorfinn grow up, and even during his vengeance years, he never gave up on him, and he isn't going to leave him now. As the battle of Ketil's farm begins, the group flees the village with Arneas, and oh boy, she's not long for this world. When I saw that dream sequence with Hijalti, Garda, and her unborn child, like, that was emotional. The dialogue was very poignant during that scene. Garda called the world a heap of pain and despair, and how they have a new home waiting for them. Arneas seeing a deer and a wolf is a beautiful representation of Einar and Thorfinn, and how two seemingly opposite forces, predator and prey, can come together and coexist in this dark world. When I examined the scene even further, it shows how Arneas, even when on the verge of death, was extremely uplifted by her two friends who are idealistic about making the world a better place. But that's the irony of Thorfinn's ideals. There's an actual war going on behind them, and most of our characters have been affected by slavery. You would think that Thorfinn, after going through what he's been through, would just give up on his ideals, but it's the exact opposite. And I love how almost naive it seems, given what's happened during this season. But that's the brilliance of Vinland Saga's farmland arc in particular. The author really makes us doubt the main protagonist, making his journey and his struggle much more authentic for the story. Guys, this episode was great. It showed us the stupidity and hypocrisy of Ketil. He's literally leading a slave revolt against the king of Denmark. And if you know anything about history, those usually don't end well. We see Arneas fading away, but she sticks it out just a little bit longer to give her final words to Einar. So we'll see what she has to say in the next episode. This man, Thorgil, is an absolute demon plotting to assassinate the king. And what made me laugh, it seemed like he was speaking so loudly when he was right behind Canute. The series has reached its climax and we only have 5 episodes left, and we're getting closer to Thorfinn and Canute's reunion, so I can't wait to see that. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like, share and subscribe, and until next week, stay blessed.